Welcome, everyone, to episode 4 of the Everyone Hates the Commissioner podcast. I am with my dear friend, Jonathan Opheim. John, how you doing, buddy?
I'm well. Thanks for having me on, Nick. You look handsome as usual.
As do you. I see you're repping a
Just a
Packers
sight to
jersey.
Yeah. Alan Lazard. Everyone has Aaron Rodgers, and I mean, I like Aaron Rodgers as a football player. But I just think it's cliche almost, so I had to go with a different player. Hindsight, I would have gotten Romeo Doubs, probably. But look good.
Alan Lazard, I think, is going to have a pretty solid year this year.
Yeah, he actually went to Iowa State, so Carla watched him in college, and then he actually went to the church that I went to when I was in college in Des Moines. So he's cool. He grew up in Des Moines.
Nice, very cool. So, how's Michael doing?
Well, he could be nicer to my mother, who's waiting on him hand and foot. But yeah, she's a saint. She's going through a lot because I think he's just he's telling her he has a dinner bell he's ringing when he needs something, and then he's saying chop chop. And
Jesus.
He's not, because he had heart surgery, he's not supposed to eat Culver's and he can't drive. So I said, hey, if he's being rude, just tell him, Michael, I'm going to go get Culver's. I'll see you in a couple hours. You call me when you're ready to behave. And he can't do anything,
Yeah. Well, cool.
So, yeah.
Hey, what are you doing this Sunday? Am I going to be seeing you out at Lambeau by chance?
Oh, I forgot you're coming up for the Patriots, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to let me know. So Mike Harvey and he has a buddy from Idaho that grew up in Boston. He's a big Patriots fan, and he's, the Patriots play at Lambeau every 8 years or something.
Every 8, yep. Generally, yeah. Now it might be a little different now that they added that 17th game, but used to be every 8 years for AFC teams. Yes.
Yeah, pretty rare. So he wanted to. He's flying in from Boise to Appleton, and he's paying I think $300 for the tickets. Okay. I'm not sure. Nice. But yeah, so he's pretty excited. It kind of sucks that Mac Jones is hurt because I feel like it won't be as good of a game.
Yeah. But, well, hey, if we can walk out of there at 3-1, I'll be happy. We'll take it and run.
Yeah. I'm worried about the running backs. I think Ramondre and Damian looked pretty good last week. And I just think the Packers have always had, at least this year, a tough time with the run. So I could see that being an issue.
Yeah. Hey, we'll bring that up. We'll do some Packers talk in a little bit, but
sure.
Why don't you tell us what your team name is and what kind of situation you're doing in our dynasty league?
Yeah, so the team name is John Opheim. I named it after myself so that when people are playing, they know who they're playing against. Because when I see Big Lazinski or what are the other ones? F the fumble rule, or which should be Owen Stew, because I think that was the funniest.
That was the funniest. Yeah, the Kai had a really good
shout out to Kai. That made me laugh. Yeah.
I laughed for 5 minutes after that, and I just would bring it up or just think about it, of course, the day. That was fantastic. So
I feel bad for Stu because he's got a good team on paper, but every week it seems like all of his guys just crap the bed. Do
you think it's karma with all these trades that he's doing? And
could be.
I have to give credit to Dan because he actually, we were just talking about this before. He counted them all out. Do you have an idea of how many? I bet you Stu doesn't even know us. Do you have an idea of how many trades that he made so far this year?
I did read his message.
From the beginning. This is like draft picks and everything, and just moving up in the draft and everything. Take a guess.
Yeah, it's 13 or 14, isn't it?
Yeah, 13. Very good. Yeah.
That's demented. I can't get anyone to trade with me because my team sucks so much ass. No one wants to touch any of the players on my team.
Yeah.
But let's see. I snuck out a win last week, which I got lucky because Bo had Mike Evans, who was suspended for one game for joining the fight that Tom Brady had started, right? Yeah. So he got suspended for some reason because he threw the punch. But so I lucked out there, and it was closer than I would have liked.
Okay,
a lot closer.
Yeah.
Going forward, my strategy. So if you look at the leading scorers in fantasy and PPR leagues over the past 3 weeks, there's 3 running backs that have scored more than 50 points. And there are 15 wide receivers. So I have a lot of wide receivers on my bench. I'm hoping just it's like throwing darts. I'm just hoping one or two of them become like a staple where they can get you 15 points a week.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I feel the same way because and we brought this up. Christian Watson, I think, has a really, really high upside, and I think he could be that guy when maybe in a year or so. Alec Pierce has a lot of upside too. They love him in Indianapolis. He's already the number 2. But they're a young team and everything. But I was really hoping that the Packers would try to snag him at the end of the second round or early third, but the Colts took him in the second because they said he's a workout freak, athletic as all hell. He's like 6'3", 220, just can jump out of the gym. I was really hoping that we could. I mean, I'm not complaining about Christian Watson and the gem. I think that you could already call it a gem with what they found in Romeo Dobbs in the 4th round. But I was pretty high on him too. And then I have one more. Garrett Wilson, of course. How can you forget about Garrett Wilson? So I think I'm pretty well. And then I have Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb. So I'm hoping to have a good rotation at wide receiver there. If I can have 4 or 5 studs, then I can. If that should work out in the long run.
Which I didn't watch the entirety of that game, but I heard CeeDee Lamb dropped one in the end zone, and that probably would have won you the fantasy.
I would have won. Yep. And he dropped a couple balls I saw, but that was tough. I literally had no reaction when I was watching that because I'm just numb to it. I'm like, you got to be. I watched it. The ball hit the ground, and I just.
Yeah,
that's what disappointment.
So that's what you and I both have NFL Red Zone now, so we watch that, and I feel like all that it's done is given me more opportunities to watch my fantasy football team just get fucked, right? So like, T. Higgins catches that beautiful one in the end zone, and they reverse it. Or maybe it was originally not called a touchdown, and they challenged it, and they stayed with it. And then Trevor Lawrence had a touchdown pass to Evan Ingram that was overturned. And then I got to watch Allen Robinson drop 2 in the end zone because he's a freaking dink. And it's like, that's what my Sundays have become now. It's just watching the people on my team. Oh, and then the king of them all, Cam Akers, right on the goal line, fumbling the ball. And I'm just like, and that was all in the span of 6 hours. I mean, there were 6 different opportunities. So but it's fun when you win. I will say it's you put in all this time, and it's a sick amount of time I've looked at it in my team. So
what was your kind of going into this? So I'm pretty sure that all 12 of us in this league, we're all new to the dynasty version. I think definitely from what I gather, everybody's just done redraft or maybe a 1-person keeper. So kind of what were your thoughts going into the dynasty? And then what about kind of was your plan going into draft day?
Yeah, so I would consider myself a fair weather football fan. I enjoy watching the Packers when they're winning, but I was not up until this year diehard. So in the past, I haven't done fantasy for 3-4 years. In the past, I used a site called Fantasy Pros, and they have all these pros, right, that do their rankings and all this shit. And then what I like about it is they take the aggregate. So they're taking the average rankings of 40 or 50 different fantasy experts. And then you kind of see, so it's giving you more of a average instead of just listening to one guy in fantasy. And so that's how I did my draft because I didn't really have any idea like who were the young studs coming up. I wasn't really aware of injuries, or I would not have taken Cam Akers when I did, to be quite honest. I didn't realize that he tore his Achilles last year and came back and sucked. So I strictly went off rankings. I queued up the top 120 dynasty ranking players before the draft, because I was at Target when the draft was going on, and then whenever they would come up, I just picked the top one. And I tried to wait late on tight ends and quarterbacks. And Trevor Lawrence so far has looked pretty decent. And Zach Ertz is actually, I think, the 3rd overall tight end, and I drafted him in the 12th round. So that's probably the only bright spot in my draft.
Yeah. I really liked that pick, Trevor Lawrence. I know that he got screwed last year with Urban Meyer as his coach, but that was a very, very awful experiment that they had down in Jacksonville. But I think they have some stability now with Doug Peterson, and I think the future is very, very bright down in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I agree. I also wanted to ask you, how did you do yours? You told me you have a guy you listen to, but you didn't tell me who it is.
A guy that I listened to.
I thought you had a fantasy expert or fantasy guy that you follow, but you wouldn't tell me who it is.
I don't think so. Not really. I don't do social media, as many of you know. This is my new dive into social media, putting some of these videos on YouTube, but I haven't been involved in a long time, so I haven't followed anybody. I guess maybe just did a little bit of reading, but I knew I wanted to go young, and I knew that I wanted to try to be a force, maybe not in year 1 or year 2, but I wanted to be a solid force, for a 5 or 6 year stretch, kind of when guys are hitting their primes. And I think I did that. I've got a lot of very young players. I think the oldest guy on my team is George Kittle, and he's 28. So, and he's got a lot of good football in front of him yet.
And then that I really think Jamar Chase would be doing better thus far if the Bengals had a line. I just don't think Burrows has enough time to even get the ball out.
No,
and
and it's awful. And that offensive line is awful. He's running for his life. I mean, somebody asked me today, actually at work, like, do you think Joe Burrow is it fair to say he's a bust because he's just not? I'm like, no, absolutely not. It's his offensive line that you got to see, he's running for his life. He's been sacked. I mean, I think it was like 6 or 7 times in the first game, and pretty close to that the second game. And I think he had a little bit more time against the Jets, but his offensive line is putrid, man. That needs to be their number one on the list of things that they need to improve come off season, because and they can't wreck a guy like that.
No, and they spend all that money too, like 70 million or something demented. I do have the stats pulled up. So they ranked on teamrankings.com. They have the most sacks allowed per game. Cincinnati is leading. They're with Washington. They're tied because I think Carson Wentz got sacked 9 times last week.
Wow.
So they're averaging 5 sacks a game. They're allowing.
Yeah, that's way too much. You need to keep Joe Burrow on his feet.
Yeah. And then top 2, Jacksonville and Kansas City have only allowed 0.7 sacks a game.
Really?
So about 2 sacks the whole season so far.
So the money was well invested down in Jacksonville too, because they went and got a couple guys on their offensive line.
So for 3 games, I would say, but I think last year the Carolina Panthers were undefeated in 3 games, so it might be a little early to tell. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that for some reason Lawrence has not been sacked very often.
That's good. That is good. Yeah. Hey, so what are you? Do you have a beer on hand or a beverage?
Yeah, I'm having a Topo Chico tropical mango hard seltzer. Yeah, it's different. What about you?
Well, you know me, I gotta keep the tradition going, and because we love our Basil Hayden's here at the Dilt's house. So I have just a little bit left here. That'll probably, maybe that'll get me through next week, but I think that's going to be a staple here on this podcast.
How much is a bottle of that?
Oh, well, it depends on where you go. If you get it at Costco, it's like 34. You go to Woodman's, it's like 30. But if you get it at Pick and Save, it's like 40, 41. So that's
reasonable though.
Yeah, but I think it's a really, really for the quality, I think it's a pretty fair price. Because some stuff out there that's 25-ish is pretty bad. So I think the value is there with
is that your go-to whiskey for that price range?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I did just try one recently called Black Saddle. I got it at Total Wine. That was very good. I think that was about 45, but as of right now, that's probably number 1. And Angel's Envy might be number 2. And then that's right. And then, like I said, Basil Hayden's is up there, but for value, I gotta go with that. So
Yeah, Michael was always a fan of Basil Hayden. I remember
yeah,
that.
I've had Basil Haynes with Michael a couple times.
Hey,
All
what
right.
are you? So this weekend you're going to the Patriots game?
I am. Yep.
Okay.
We're going up with Monica and her family, so it should be a good time. We're gonna meet up somewhere outside or somewhere in Green Bay, and then get in. I think we're gonna tailgate in the parking lot. So yeah, if you're around, we'll have to get together and figure
Yeah,
something
you
out.
actually should. I will be around, so just message me and
Yep.
we'll come meet up with you for sure. Um, then the other thing I was going to ask you is who was your fantasy stud of the week?
Well,
Oh wait,
we're
is
gonna
that
wait on that one.
premature?
Yeah, it's
My
a little
bad.
premature, but that's okay. We'll get into that real quick. I do want to, before we do that though, we like to see everybody's favorite pet, and we're gonna see what this. So with this week's Thursday night game, and again, I've brought this up in the past, is these Thursday night games are turning and they're awesome. I think these matchups compared to just 2 years ago there's a really a significant difference in the quality. Of matchups. Maybe not the football itself because it is still a little rushed. I mean, losing a couple days of rest and having a couple less days to prepare, but the matchup this week, I think I'm really excited for tomorrow
Good
night, and
one.
that's going to be. Well, I'll leave it to Sir Obi, and we're going to see what he had to say for our Thursday night matchup. Take it away, Obi.
Cute helmets.
Yeah, we had a little bit of an upgrade there. Instead of just printing printing the just a logo, but hello everybody. Here we go. Week 4 of Obi's picks. There is Obi. Very focused. He's doing a wonderful job. We have a wonderful and fantastic game this weekend between the Miami Dolphins and the Cincinnati Bengals. I tell you what, these Thursday night games are getting better and better every week. So, what do we got, Obi? Come on, buddy. Come on. He's going with the Dolphins. Obi's going with the Dolphins. Well, there he is. There is our boy, and I actually love this pick. Even though on here we just have him pick the winner, not against the spread. And I do think that the Dolphins are going to pull this one out, but he's not starting off too great. He's 1-2.
Okay,
but
that's not bad.
Not bad for picking what treat caught his eye the best, But that matchup, I mean, with the Dolphins and the Bengals, I mean, the Dolphins are 3.5. Did you see on there the 3.5-point dogs?
It's
Do
a
you
trap
believe
game.
that?
Yeah.
You think so?
That's I don't want to get ahead, but I think that's my lock of the week because I think this is a trap game. I don't know why.
You think that what you think the Dolphins are going to lose?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense that the Dolphins, I know they're playing in Cincinnati, but it makes no sense that the Dolphins are underdogs.
Yeah,
to
it's
me.
weird. I know. I think it's going to be a shootout, which is going to bode well for me with having Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I think there's going to be a lot of points because what I mean, haven't the Dolphins put up near 40 points every single game this year so far?
They are not messing around, my friend.
No.
You better best be ready to put up a couple points against the Dolphins. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So I have a question for you. Talking about especially the Dolphins, who have so far have made quite a turnaround this year. But what they're a struggling team, maybe this year or last year. What struggling team do you think has the brightest future so far, or right now in the NFL?
So they're currently struggling.
Either this year or just the last 2 years that have just generally have been struggling. Yes.
I'm going to go with one that's struggling to start the season. I think the Cardinals are going to turn it around. Personally, I don't know exactly when I'm blanking on his name. What's that? Oh, DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know exactly when he
Yeah.
comes back, but I really think
Six.
that will have a great impact.
He's going to have a 6-game suspension. So depending on when their bye is, I don't know offhand, but it should be week 7.
Yeah, I just think that NFC West, especially the 49ers and the Cardinals, have not looked that good to start. But I think for sure the Cardinals will come back around because I'm a Kyler fan. I just think he needs to run more. It doesn't look like he's been running enough, in my opinion.
Did you see that 2-point conversion that he made against the Raiders?
Where he ran like 90 yards.
Yeah, and that play took, what did they say, like 26 seconds.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's
I mean,
just
but
stupid.
he's elusive, and I
like
don't
that
know.
Before.
I don't know why he's not. I mean, I get you want to be a pocket passer. Everyone loves to be a pocket passer, but it's like when you're the fastest guy and you're so elusive and you're slippery as a snake, just go for it. You know what I mean? If it's tightening around, you just take off. I mean, they ain't gonna catch him.
I know. What did somebody? And this is not me talking. I'm just quoting, and I might be wrong. This might be a good thing for a correction, but I remember watching a little clip of an interview with somebody asked, like, I don't know if maybe it was one of those top 100 things that they have on the NFL Network of the top 100 players. And somebody was asked about Kyler Murray, and they said he was like it was like they said they compared it to chasing a chicken around in a pen because he's so short they can't pick him out, and he's just so quick. He can't just running around.
That's a good one.
So
because he is, I didn't know that about him, but he is shorter. I was not aware.
Okay. Yep, I think he's only 5'10" or 5'11".
Okay, who's your
fast as fuck though?
Yeah, who's your team that's been shit so far that you think's gonna kind of bring her back?
So I'm going off the last couple of years. I mean, just in general. But I think now that they've got a pretty good culture established there is Detroit. They have been bad for so long, but this year they hung in there tough with Philly, and Philly might be the best team in the NFC right now.
I agree.
So talented.
They look good.
They hung in there with them. They should have beaten the Vikings, and then I mean, they were playing Washington. I think they let Washington catch up a little bit at the end, but they were the clear winner in that team. They were beating them. It wasn't even close. I think they're gonna be tough for a long time. I don't know if Jared Goff is maybe the long-term answer. I think he's definitely serviceable. He was a former number 1 overall pick. I think he's going to be really solid, but they're putting a really good supporting cast around him. And wait till Jameson Williams gets back, man. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to watch, especially watching what the Packers did. How poorly they played defense against Justin Jefferson. I can only imagine Jameson Williams at 100% running that crossing route across the field. Then nobody's gonna be able to touch him because he's fast as fuck too.
Yeah. I will say that's been one of the offenses that's been most surprising because they lost to the Eagles 38-35. Right.
Yeah.
So that's what is that, 5 touchdowns? Like that's pretty impressive. Week 1 opener, which most people consider your preseason game, to play that close with the Eagles.
Yeah. They did it. They're doing well. What about let's go with some teams that are not struggling. What would you say? This is going to be we're going to call this a way too early Super Bowl prediction. You got one for me?
Yeah. So I was actually looking at Vegas and what they have as the favorites.
Oh yeah, they love Buffalo, your gambling.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills are number 1. Chiefs, Eagles, Tampa, and Green Bay are all tied. Like they're all about plus 900. So if you put $100, you'd win 900. I am going to throw out a random dart that no one's talking about, and I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens. And I think if they can tighten up on defense, I think the offense can hang with anyone, but the defense is where they need to definitely improve some things, especially letting the Dolphins come back when you're that much ahead.
Yeah.
But I will take them. I love watching Lamar Jackson play, and I like that Rashad Bateman because he's on my fantasy team, and Mark Andrews is a stud. So that's one I would take.
Who do you think is going to come out of the NFC?
NFC, I think the Eagles are going to be the hardest out personally, but I guess it can be a totally different by the time the playoffs hit with injuries, it can be a completely different looking team. I guess,
Hey,
but 3 weeks in, Eagles.
that's why you call it a way too early Super Bowl prediction, right?
Hey, I have a question for you. Do you
Okay.
think so? I have been telling this to people and they think I'm crazy. I personally believe the best division in football right now is the AFC East. Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets suck. But everyone was hot on the AFC West. And let's just look at this past week. Chiefs lose to the Colts. Chargers lose 38-10 to the Jaguars. Raiders lose again. Not surprising.
Oh, I want to talk
And
about
then
that.
and then the Denver Broncos pull out a victory 11-10. And this is the best division in football. Get the F out of here.
Yeah, I mean you're making some very valid points. AFC East, I think well, the Patriots are going down. The Jets are going to surpass them relatively soon, especially if Zach Wilson plays well. There's actually some theories out there that what Bill Belichick is like just running that team into the ground. I don't know if that's I just don't see him doing that, but
No.
he's pissed away some draft picks, and they're spending a lot of money in free agency because they are missing really badly in the draft. But I think that's a tough division. I don't know if I would say it's the best. I guess if offhand.
Who's yours? Who's your division?
Well, I think the obvious choice up until Russ got traded to the Broncos would have been the NFC West. Now the Seahawks aren't gonna be very successful, but I mean I still think those other three teams are tough. But a lot of injuries on the 49ers already, losing Trey Lance, and the Rams had a shitter of a game in week 1.
Yep.
But it is early. That's a tough question. I'll have to think on that one. But it could be. It very well could be the East.
So I agree with you. The Seahawks suck, but through 3 weeks, Geno Smith actually has the 7th best passer rating in the NFL.
Well, that's because he doesn't throw the ball that much.
I think you're right. Yeah, he's like very conservative. He's kind of like poor man's Aaron Rodgers, very poor man's Aaron Rodgers. Like, because that's how Aaron was, right? I mean, if you had a guy within 5 feet of you, I felt like he wasn't passing the ball, right?
Yeah. Well, he's ripping it a lot more now, but yeah. Interesting. That's a really interesting comparison, John. But we'll go with it. What another question here for you? What coach do you think has the hottest seat right now, or do you think has the shortest leash in the league?
Yeah, shortest leash, and I don't think it's fair. It's got to be that coach at Denver. I think just because they spent so much money, and they're looking at it and they're like, hey, we have this incredible roster for you. If you cannot at least get to the playoffs, I think, which is too bad. I mean, I imagine it's tough if you've never been a head coach before, going in and creating a great environment. I just think there's so many facets that we don't see as fans, Yep. And I that's who I would say. I'm sure there's others, like the guy at the Colts,
Frank Reich.
Yeah, Frank. Who's it? Frank Reich?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Who would you say?
Well, I have a few. And Nathaniel Hackett was on my list, the Broncos coach. I agree with what you said 100%. They gave him the keys to a golden kingdom, maybe, if that's what you want to call it, with a franchise quarterback and some good receivers and a solid defense. And I would even not going well. It's looking really, really bad. And maybe it's early and it's too early and they're still figuring some things out, but it's not looking good right now. Their offense is looking awful. But besides that, I have Josh McDaniels on that list. Same thing. 0-3 down in Las Vegas. They extended Derek Carr. They extended Darren Waller. They extended Hunter Renfrow. And then they traded their 1st and 2nd round picks away for Devontae Adams. who I want to talk about in a minute, but that is looking really bad. And I don't know if you can really put all the blame on him because the Raiders have drafted so poorly in the last few years. I mean, have you seen that stat? Like their last, how many first and second round picks? I think there's only 2 of them left on the roster. I believe it's Josh Jacobs and CJ Abram, and they both declined. They declined both of their 5th-year options. So the rest of them have been cut or are in jail. So not good, and that doesn't help. I mean, especially a lot of those guys were defensive players, and that if you keep missing on early picks on the defense, like over the course of 3 or 4 years, that really takes a toll. And then you have to try to make up for it in other ways in free agency. And that's not always the best option. But and then I want to throw a couple more out there. Mike McCarthy and
Oh yeah. I think no, he's gone.
yeah,
I think that Sean Payton is next up. I think he's just like a lame duck, like decoy.
yep.
There is no way that Jerry Jones is looking at Mike McCarthy and says, "This is my future."
Yep, I agree 100%. They have their mind made up. He's just out there just because he's probably the best option that they have at this moment. Another one, Cliff Kingsbury. If they continue to struggle this year, which they haven't looked great, yeah, they did the same
Cardinals?
thing. They spent a lot of money on the quarterback, and they brought in some guys. They traded for D Hop. They paid JJ Watt. I think that, and he struggled so badly in the playoffs the last couple of years. And they started off 7-0 last year, I believe, before we
then they hit the Packers.
Yep, and we beat them without Davante Adams.
Right.
So those are 4 coaches that I think are really they're not sitting too well. They're going to be on a pretty short leash. But Davante Adams, I wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard this thing that he's pissed that he's 0-3?
So where do you think he's ranked among fantasy wide receivers?
I think he's probably ranked still pretty highly because they're giving him a lot of targets, and I think he's got 2 touchdowns. And I know that I'm pretty sure he had 1 game over 100 yards. So I'd say if I had to guess, around 15.
Yeah, he's 11 in PPR leagues.
All right,
so not bad.
But this is just another prime example of players thinking that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, and oh no, it's not. And he turned down more money to stay in Green Bay. But man, I think he's never been 0-3 in his career, and I think that's going to be a little tough on him.
Those 2 played together in college, right? At Fresno State.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
that was probably part of it.
Oh, absolutely it was. But it doesn't matter how many buddies you're playing with. If you lose every fucking game, it doesn't matter. Somebody's going to be pissed, and I think he's not used to losing. And I think that's going to be a lot harder on him than he thought. I can't imagine that he expected them to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender this year. If he did, I think that maybe it would be a little foolish, but they're struggling pretty bad down there in Vegas.
Yeah.
But I do want to go down there when the Packers are in Vegas, because I think that'd be a hell of a time. Go make a long weekend out of it.
Smartest move I've seen in a long time by a sports franchise. I mean, because what you just said, every single fan in the NFL is thinking the same thing. Because everyone that loves football loves to gamble and drink and and just piss away their money on the weekends, and that is the perfect place to do it. And go watch your team maybe win a game, in
a brand new shiny stadium. Yep. Hey, I agree 100%. That's pretty damn good.
Well, what is Davante is 29, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I think you were right there. Yes.
So I know they sent Jordy Nelson over there, and he was a little older.
He was a free agent, though.
Oh, he was. So they just picked him up.
Well, the Packers didn't want to sign him, and I think if I remember correctly, he was willing to take a pay cut. But they didn't bring him back, and I know that pissed Rodgers off. He went and played like 1 season in Oakland, and it wasn't very good. It wasn't a very good experience for him. But I'm not blaming the players. I mean, it's not their fault I understand it's a business, and if the team doesn't offer them a contract, it's not really fair to say that, oh, he betrayed us and this and that. I mean,
No.
another good example is the guy back here, Clay Matthews.
I'm not a Clay Matthews fan.
No, well, I
No.
was, and and he just came out recently saying that he wished he would have played his entire career in Green Bay. So I don't know if it was money or what the deal was, but if you really want to stick around, and I think Devontae is going to be saying the same thing in 5 years.
Yeah.
But you want to come back to Green Bay, baby? Come on back. We'll take you.
Yeah.
We'd
Yeah,
love
we'll
to
take
have
you.
you.
Yeah, we'll put a billboard up. Nick, you and I,
Yeah.
we can pay for like a couple months billboard in some shithole part of Las Vegas, and
Yeah.
hopefully you'll drive by it.
Yeah.
We're waiting. And it's just you and me. We're ready. But no, Clay Matthews. So my grandfather loves the Packers. I inherited the season tickets from him because he's been going since the 60s. Big
Yep.
defense guy. So he focuses on the defense. When I watch football, I enjoy the big plays. He's watching all the individual players on defense and how they react to runs, passes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And Clay, I think he had those first 2 good years. And my grandpa said when they would run the ball, he was strictly focused on pass rush, which he wasn't super successful at, towards the end of his career with the Packers.
Yep.
And my grandpa said on the run, he just would just stand there with his hands in his pockets.
Well, have you heard that thing about James Robinson, who said, especially after seeing TJ Watt go out with a torn pectoral, I believe it's a torn pectoral. They asked him, like, hey, dude, how'd you play so long? He goes, well, when you're after a while, you figure out which plays to take off and which ones to go 100%. Well, those Watt boys don't know how to take a play off. And I mean, not that that's a bad thing. That's a great thing that they're busting their ass every single play. But at the same time, those two have just destroyed their bodies. I mean, I'm sure they're doing the same thing in the gym, and they're just not gonna hold up. And I mean, you see it with JJ, and now you're seeing it with TJ. They're just getting, and it's not just like minor injuries. These are significant injuries that they're going, because they're just going so. And again, not that that's a bad thing. You want your players to go 110%, but once in a while, maybe you should take James Robinson or James. I might be getting his last name wrong. God damn it.
I got to be honest with you. If I was in the NFL,
big dude, James Harrison. I'm sorry, James Harrison. Yes. Maybe you should take a page out of his book every once in a while when you see it running in the other way. Maybe just jog over there until the whistle blows.
So I will be honest. I criticize Clay Matthews, but if I was in the NFL on defense, I bet you can bet your every single last dime you have in your bank account, I would do exactly that. I would be taking a break as much as I could. Oh, give me some Gatorade. I'm parched. Come over here. Fuck, my throat's dry. And I'm just walking off in the middle of the play to get some Gatorade. But hey, can I ask you?
That's a good reason why you're not it's probably a good thing you're not a football player.
It is. Yeah, it is. Who's your favorite defensive player on the Packers?
Well, it's tough because I haven't really been as emotionally attached to anybody or as anyone really. Because when I started paying attention to, I was always watching the Packers for as long as I can remember, but the first NFL draft that I remember paying attention to was the 09 or 10 draft, when we had 2 first-round picks. I can't remember how we acquired that second first-round pick, but we drafted BJ Raji and then Clay Matthews in around 20, and I loved watching Clay Matthews for the 8-9 years that he was with us. And then when we left, I was bummed. I haven't, so again, like I said, I haven't been as emotionally attached to any player, but holy shit, is it fun watching Rashawn Gary. That dude is a beast. Like, he's 6'5", 270, and he's just athletic as hell. And he got knocked on quite a bit when we drafted him. I think we drafted him 12th overall. And
for Michigan.
Michigan. And because he didn't really put up sack numbers. But if you didn't know this, he was the number 1 high school recruit and he signed with Michigan when shortly after Jim Harbaugh was in at Michigan. And
Okay.
then if you have the number one high school recruit on your team, and maybe you didn't play much as a freshman, but there's a reason for that. And I think a lot of teams doubled and tripled his side. So he definitely made an impact. I mean, because he was drawing more blockers, but it's showing. His skill set is showing now this year. So I probably would have to go with him. And he's wearing 52 again. So how about you?
I mean, Jair's awesome. You know, they paid him a lot. He's a lockdown corner, but just because I think his name is really sweet, Quay
Yeah,
Walker.
that's a cool name. Oh, yeah, that's gonna be fun. He's gonna be a fun guy to watch.
From Georgia. Yeah, he's the linebacker, correct? He's not the.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Okay, that's who I would pick. Does he play middle linebacker?
Yeah, interior they call it now.
Okay.
I don't think they call. They might call it. It'd be a better question for some more. I think it's interior.
Interior
and then they
linebacker.
have like outside. They have like Will and Sam. I don't know enough. I mean, I know enough about football, but not enough to tell you what specific position there. But I think it's just interior middle linebacker or interior linebacker. But anyways, yeah, he looks fucking good out there, man. He's fast. Him and DeAndre Campbell running around, Devondre, whatever. Dude, they look good. They look really good.
I'm supporting you, Quay. I can't wait. Can't wait for more seasons together. You and me.
I hate these single digit jersey numbers though for defensive players and wide receivers. I don't know how you feel about that. Maybe you don't care, but I think I'm just old school. Yeah, I'm old school, dude. I'm good with like wide receivers like Alan Lazard wearing 13, but these single digit things, that's for kickers, punters, and quarterbacks, in my opinion. That's how it should be. It shouldn't be for defensive ends and linebackers and corners, but again, I think I'm old school there.
Yeah, you sound like after we get off the phone here, you're gonna go and have a nice pot roast for dinner, you know, and turn on some black and white movies, and kind of around 8:30 you're gonna start shuffling towards bed because it's gonna be a late. You don't want it to be too late of a night. You know, you sound like a crotchety old man, dude.
Well, I have an old soul. All right. Well, I think it's a good transition here. Let's kind of go into because you brought it up earlier, your week 3 studs. So
yeah.
It was a fun week. It was a really fun week
sure.
and for fantasy football. But who was your week 3 player of the week?
So I apologize because I did not know it was fantasy because you just asked me who the week 3 player of the week was. So if I was going to say just week 3 player, I'm going to go. He didn't score a lot of fantasy, but he got the job done in New York on Monday night, and I'm going to go with Cooper Rush.
Oh, interesting.
Just player, not fantasy. Obviously, he didn't score. Right. I think he scored 12 points. But you bring in your backup, you lose your first game, you bring in your backup quarterback, and you're 2-0 with the backup. I mean, look at him. Look at 215 yards, 1 touchdown, Nick. What more can you ask for?
John, everybody knows that the only reason that you picked him is because he's another redhead, okay, John?
That's right, yeah. And we're underrepresented in the NFL, that's right.
Well, I'm going to go with your boy. He's on your team, and I would love to have him on my team. Trevor Lawrence. The dude did a hell of a job this week. I think, and maybe it's Doug Peterson that's making the difference there, but he tore up, like you alluded to earlier, tore up the Chargers this week. And maybe you didn't, and I always try to pick a guy, and I think I brought this up, but I always try to pick a guy that maybe doesn't have the most fantasy points, but somebody that did really, really well, and it was a huge impact for their team. And I have to go with T-Law this week, man. He looked good. Looked really, really good.
Should have had 4 touchdowns, dude. 4.
Yeah.
Because they called back that shit one against Evan Ingram.
And I really like the fact that I got Christian Kirk on the squad. And
that was an excellent pick, I gotta say.
That's some money well spent. there in Jacksonville. So, what about week 4? Who do you got in week 4? If you had to pick a fantasy, is this going to be a fantasy player?
Yeah, I picked a fantasy player. I was thinking more fantasy geared, but I also think this guy is just going to dominate because this team refuses to pass the ball. Even when they're down 4 touchdowns, they are going to run the ball. And I think it's going to be Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert's weak. I think David Montgomery, they said, last I heard, injury-wise, it was a ankle and then like a little bit injury to the knee. And it's not often you see 2 injuries listed. So I'm like, oh, probably not a good shot that David Montgomery is going to be good to go this week. I think Khalil Herbert is going to get minimum 15 touches, maybe a few dump passes. I don't see him getting any less than 18 fantasy points this week. And I think that the offense is going to go through him.
Okay, interesting. That's a very interesting pick. Is this kind of stemming from your time spent with David Wood by chance, picking a Bears player, or?
It is David. Well, a little bit, but they also play the Giants, who I don't think is a great defense. And David did tell me earlier in the year that the coach more prefers Khalil Herbert. That's what the talk from the beat writers had been, that the new head coach there prefers Khalil Herbert. So I guess I didn't think he'd start, performing this well, but obviously injuries give you opportunities. So yeah, Khalil.
So I am going to go with the opposing running back.
Whoa.
Saquon Barkley.
The battle of the backs.
Bears. That's right. The battle of the backs. We might have to report back on this next week. And I think, dude, Saquon has looked so good so far this year. And if I understand that he was had a couple rough years with injuries, but he looks like the real deal. I mean, he looked like the real deal when he was on, like, in the past, like this first couple of years, but again, injuries. But if he can stay healthy this year, man, he's going to be top 5 back, I think, in fantasy, especially with his receiving abilities and just
definitely
the ability to make people miss in open field. And he's a hell of a player. And I think I might have to get, this might be, I have to be a correction, but as he's the 2nd overall pick, I think he was worth that pick.
He was high. Because remember, he dominated at Penn State. Like, he was a blast to watch at Penn State.
He beat the shit out of the Badgers.
And Dan owes Stu a thank you, because I'm pretty sure that Stu generously traded Saquon over to Dan.
Oh, yeah. And we gotta jump into that. I got some,
one last thing on the Giants I wanted to say. I was watching the Monday night game and I was really excited to talk about how great Daniel Jones looked, because for the first few quarters he didn't look bad, and then they're having that last drive and I'm like, oh, they're gonna come back, tie it up, overtime, the win with a field goal. Daniel Jones led it, and he throws the interception to nobody. He threw the interception to the only guy that could have got it was the Cowboys player.
I gave up on that. Well, I went to bed at about halftime on that game, but Daniel Jones is fucking awful. It's so bad.
I wanted to believe, Nick. I wanted, it's like one of those like underdog stories. You want to root for, everyone shits on him and gives up on him, but
dude, he's been bad for 3 years. Why do you think it's just gonna flip in year 4? I don't think so. Not happening. I think they don't have a better option right now. Well, maybe they do in Tyrod Taylor. Honestly, he probably would be better. But this is why, when the Jimmy G was dealing with all this drama in San Francisco, that's the team that I wanted him, that I thought would have been the best fit, because
the coach looks good. The coach has done a good job managing the games. Yeah.
Yep. But I think Jimmy G would be a perfect fit in New York, because it's a well, maybe not anymore, but they are still, in my opinion, building, and kind of that offense is built around Saquon, and as it should be. But dude, you can hand it up if you're successful running the football, and Jimmy G tears people up in play action. And I thought that would have been a really, really good fit for him.
So I will say, in Daniel Jones' defense, though, if you watch that game, in the 4th quarter, there had to be like 4 drops to wide open Giants receivers. I don't know what the hell was going on, but I mean, right to their hands like this, it hits them right in the hands and they turn and it just falls to the ground. Like at
Yeah.
least 3 or 4 times. So I did feel a little bad for him. That reminds me just quick. Are you a Trey Lance believer?
A little bit. I brought that up last week, and I think his athleticism is going to take him. He's got a really strong arm, and he's quick.
Okay.
I would say a pretty fair comparison would be Josh Allen, but maybe not as big and strong. But he's athletic and he's got a big arm. But we still haven't seen enough for him. I'm not putting all my chips on him at all.
I agree. I saw that Dan traded for him, and I think it was a risky move, which could pay off huge. You know what I mean? Because he traded away Tua with that good game.
But I believe he gained a first round pick.
He did. Though. Which the other last thing before we go into the fantasy talk more, he wanted the first round pick. Yeah, he did. I think you trading away AJ Dillon for all those first round picks, money move. AJ Dillon might be great next year, but I don't think this is going to be the year for him.
And so I did not propose this trade. I was ready to go into
with AJ.
Into the season and into that rookie draft. Happy as fuck, right? I had the 5th pick. I wanted Garrett Wilson, got him, but I was not anticipating in that. So about 45 minutes before our rookie draft, I get a trade offer from Isaac. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round rookie picks for this year's draft. There would have been this last in 2022 of rookie picks for AJ Dillon. I said, okay, I'll take that. And then I actually spun because I had an additional 3rd round pick from, I think, a different trade that I made. So I had 3 3rd round picks and I spun it around to trade all 3 3rd round picks back to Isaac for a future 1st round pick. So
see, to me, the 3rd round picks are useless. I know you can maybe get lucky and get a guy, but I think I'm not interested in 3rd round picks.
Hey, Romeo Dobbs was a 3rd round pick, John.
I understand. And I know it's like throwing darts, but so at this upcoming draft, this rookie class of 2023 apparently has a ton of stud running backs from what I've researched and some decent quarterbacks.
Yeah, so I think I've heard that the quarterback class is going to be really strong there too. I love this. Oh, what do you think about picks? How do you feel about them?
I think that they're worth a lot more than we know at this point,
Maybe
that's what I will say. Because when I go on these fantasy dynasty websites, they show like players that are worth trading for a 1st round pick, and there are very few players that are worth a 1st round pick in dynasty.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because like sometimes you get some absolute duds in the 1st round, but definitely this wide receiver class in the 1st round through 3 weeks has panned out. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jahan Dotson had a good first 2 weeks. Yep. I mean, there's been some really good
Drake
talent.
London.
Oh, Drake London, yes. Yeah. So I mean, right there, like half of them are startable wide receivers. Yeah, and they're rookies,
Yeah, they are. Those first, I brought it up last week. These 1st round picks it's the future. It is the future of this league because you can't just rely on a stud right now that's 28, 29 years old, man. He's gonna be done soon. I mean, and then what? You need to have those picks. You need to have assets to, if you want to move around your first picks, that's fine, or all your rookie picks, that's fine. But pretty soon you're going to be down at the bottom of the barrel here because you're not, and your only way you're going to be able to acquire players is through free agency or on the waiver wire, because you're not going to have any assets to trade away. Who's going to trade away for a 32-year-old player? They're not going to give you anything for that. And not to mention, you won't have any picks because you traded them away. Then you're fucked. So I think these picks are a lot more important than people realize. And maybe if our fellow league members aren't watching this far, they don't see that, and then see what we just that we just talked about. But anyways.
Or you got Russell Wilson putting in his dentures, and then he's putting in his mouth guard to go in and try to throw you a touchdown, to bring your team back from the dead.
Yep, exactly. So, all right. Before we got about 15 minutes yet, but what do you have for this is gonna be some good matchups this week. I was looking. we'll briefly talk about the pick'em league, but I want to hear about your lock and your upset, and then again, not when we do these, we're not doing spreads because spreads are that's for our pick'em league that you started, and thank you for bringing me into that because I love that, man. I watch that shit all the time, or
It's fun.
I'm constant. Oh yeah, it's a blast. But so, who do you have for a lock this week?
So I know my lock. My lock is the Bengals over the to cover. Well, I guess, or
They're
just win
playing,
outright.
the Bengals are playing the Dolphins.
Yes, that's my lock. I think it's, like I told you, I think it's a trap game. Vegas knows something we do not know. I don't know if it's this Tua concussion or what's going on, but I think
It's a
that the
back
Bengals.
injury, John.
Oh, is that what it is?
No, it's not. No, that's what they're saying it was because the NFLPA is diving into the fact that why did Tua come back into the game so early when he could, like, and to use Dan's term, look like a giraffe on roller skates. Okay, he couldn't even stand up. That wasn't a back injury. He was concussed as fuck, and then he came back in and like right at the start of the third quarter. That's fucked up. They care so much about concussions. They say that they do, but they clearly do not in the NFL. They want their studs out there. They want quarterbacks to be on the field. That's my rant, and we can continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that I actually heard what happened is a puff of marijuana smoke had floated in down into the stadium.
Yeah.
And it hit him right in the nostrils, and that's why he kind of lost his balance. And that's what I had heard is what happened.
All right. What about your upset?
Upset Jaguars.
Over?
I had it pulled up here. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think it's the Eagles.
Yeah, it is. It is the Eagles.
Okay.
So you think the Jags are going to beat the Eagles, huh?
Yeah, it's I'll be honest, it's not I'm not too confident. Oh, we suck. The guests have sucked, huh?
Yeah. So
Jesus.
I'll go through mine real quick. I picked the Cowboys over Washington. I think Washington's really bad, and Cooper Rush.
And you're a Cooper Rush believer.
He's looked good. If he
Boom.
doesn't, he's not going to be the number one guy in Dallas, but somebody is going to give him a chance to play football next year. I think whether it's a trade or if he's a free agent, I'm not sure, but he has looked very good, and I think somebody's going to give him a really fair chance to start next year. My upset, and I can't believe that these guys are dogs. Maybe because they're on the road, but still don't get it. Is Arizona over Carolina? I personally don't like the Cardinals situation. I'm not a big fan of them. I'm not a big Kyler Murray fan, but Carolina has looked pretty bad, and I don't see. I think Arizona's got at times, and granted, they're a lot more potent on offense with DeAndre Hopkins, but I think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna win that one. They're gonna lock that one up on an upset. That's
a good one. Baker Mayfield sucks, and I know, and I can say that because he is my backup quarterback, and I've watched him. And
yeah, you liked him going in. You picked him up on waivers at the start of the year.
Yes,
or right before.
Wish you the best, Baker, but it's not working so far. But
hey, so about that pick'em thing, buddy, I know I got some serious slack from David Wood in your podcast, which is really good, by the way. That is called, go ahead, name drop.
Oh, sorry. The Amateur Hour on
There
YouTube.
You yeah.
Yes. And we have a pick'em with like 21 guys and gals, and we invite on the winner every week to hear their because we have a couple fans. We have like Eagles fans, Raiders fans, Jets fans, obviously Chiefs, we got a lot of different fans. So it's fun to talk to different NFL fans.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I started off a little slow, but I'm back to 500. But John, buddy,
I suck ass, man.
You're fucking 12 games under 500.
Yeah, real bad.
Real
bad this year. I'm barely batting 300 in the major leagues. I would barely be a good like an average batter,
Yeah. Well, I mean, in today's day and age in baseball, shit, if you're batting 300, you're doing okay, because I don't think the Brewers have a guy batting over 270 at this. Maybe I might be wrong, but
So baseball, I'd be good if I was
you
batting
would
now.
if 300, yeah, you'd be doing just fine.
That's really comforting because it sucks being in dead last.
Yeah.
It sucks ass.
So one thing another question I want to ask is your best draft pick that we had and somebody that you think that you had it was a great value is probably what I would assume would be what you would want to say for your best
on my team or in the league.
In your team.
Oh, I think for where I drafted him, it'd have to be Zach Ertz. I think the tight end position in fantasy is a dumpster fire. I mean, you literally have Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and the rest of it. I mean, like the rest. And for some reason, Zach Ertz has gotten a lot of targets. I think because DeAndre Hopkins is in there. So he's like the third or fourth best tight end. But
where did you draft him?
12th round.
12th round, not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, he's a little older. He's not gonna play as long, but for the time being, that's probably pretty solid.
Dan says 144 overall.
Well, if you do your sports math, that's 12 times 12. That means that was the last pick of the.
That is 12 squared, my friend. That is 12 squared. I do feel bad for whoever. I know Kyle Pitts had a better week this week, but for whoever drafted him, because I know you had to burn an early pick on Kyle Pitts. That sucks.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, he's an interesting watch.
Third round.
Rounder. Yeah.
Yeah.
So mine has got to be, I think this is pretty obvious, is Christian Kirk. I got him in the 9th round, baby. Captain Kirk. Yep. He's been tearing it up, and he is so far. I mean, I'm not saying I don't know if I can say that he's worth $21 million a year, but he's definitely playing very, very well. And 104th in our league. He's doing a hell of a job so far, and he's clearly the guy down in Jacksonville.
Yeah, so he's 62.7 points. He's the 6th overall best wide receiver in PPR leagues. He's averaging 20 points a week. That is phenomenal for a what round was it? Like 8th or 9th?
9th. Take it.
Yeah,
take it and run, baby.
9.8. Yeah, that's incredible. So yeah, kudos to you. And you drafted well in the rookies too with Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I'm really excited about him.
Yeah.
So we're gonna I know we didn't get to everything, but that's okay. I think we had a really, really solid conversation here today, John. But one last segment that I really want to get into, and this is really fun. We got a bunch of new and exciting segments, and I want to thank you, Stu, and Dan for these wonderful ideas, because hey, I'm not the most creative guy in the world, but I really appreciate the input, and we're doing some really cool things on this podcast, in my opinion. So, but this week we're gonna do a trash talk segment. Okay. So there we go.
I want to trash talk your team, Nick, and I want you to trash talk mine.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't you start? Because there's another guy that I want to trash talk too.
And we should. I think we should. If there's so let me find you. Hitting rugs here. Okay. So when I look at your lineup, your RB1 is Kareem Hunt. So your number one running back currently is the second option in Kansas City.
Well, I guess you could make that argument that Josh Jacobs would be my number.
Oh, in Cleveland. Josh Jacobs. So when I look at your thing, they have Dameon Pierce as your second.
Yep, I just moved him in there.
Okay. Josh Jacobs is what they're saying your third. So Damien's a young guy, so I think that's good. Jamar Chase would have panned out a lot better if the Bengals, like I said, had a line. And I can say that because I have T. Higgins, and I have also been eating shit on that. You have Captain Kirk. George Kittle's been injured. I don't know what his injury is, but he has not really seen much time.
He missed the first 2 weeks.
Okay. And that's tough. That's an area of the body you want to protect and you want to keep healthy in case you want to have future children, so I get why he's being safe. And George is actually a University of Iowa alumni. Yeah. So I do wish him the best. I have no hard feelings against George, but he's been pretty useless in fantasy. Let me just see. You are very dependent on the Bengals doing well.
Yep.
And if they do well, I think you're going to dominate. But so far, they have not. They've
Yep.
let you down.
It's a very comparable to that is, and I'm not picking on, I'm not trying to trash talk this guy, but Kai is very dependent on the Denver
On the Broncos.
Very
and
dependent.
Guess what? I play him on the Broncos bye week.
Oh, sick. You looked ahead on that. Good for you.
Yeah, I lucked out. I got lucky there. So happy to see that, Kai. Just stick with the Broncos. I really think they're going to turn things around. I think that is going to be the team to beat in the AFC. Oh yeah. Yeah. So as far as shit talking, I would say just your running backs are kind of poopy. Dare I say that you and I would be a better option at running back? No, but I think you could have done better in that area. So go ahead and shit on my team. There's a lot of shots.
This is
you
so
can take.
easy. This is
Hit
so
me
easy,
hard, baby. Hit me where it hurt.
So after our draft, I know you weren't able to attend because you were 6 hours away down in Iowa, but we had a really, really good time down at 3rd and 1 doing that draft. And that was a blast. Everybody was yelling back and forth, making trades. It was so much fun. But when it was all said and done, Dan and I went to a bar in town and we were talking about kind of after it was all done, and yours stuck out like a sore fucking thumb, dude.
Good.
Awful. Fucking awful. And I said that to him, like, I don't know what so we brought this up before. You're second through your 5th round draft picks. Here, let me bring that up. Real quick, okay? So bad. And I know you had the first pick and it's tough. You had the first overall pick. I understand. You got Jonathan Taylor, okay? And that was the clear choice. Cam Akers, boom, done. T. Higgins,
2nd overall.
T. Higgins, I'm sorry, but not cutting it. He's the backup fiddle to Jamar Chase, and that was your 3rd round pick, okay? Elijah Moore, well, he was the number 1 guy in New York.
No longer.
Not anymore. Garrett Wilson took that shit over real fast. And then Elijah Mitchell, who I think would have been a pretty solid pick, but guess what? Where's that knee? It's in the garbage, man. He's done.
He's on crutches.
So I do like Rashad Bateman, and I think at the time I probably would have said that was a little early to take him, but he's done well so far since they traded Marquise Brown away. Trevor Lawrence, love Trevor Lawrence. But do you want to know who you're shitting on shitting on my running backs, John? But do you want to know who your number 1 wide receiver is on your league? In a full point PPR league is T. Higgins, baby. What the fuck is that? And Alan Lazard, who I still think is going to have a good year, is in a Green Bay Packers offense that they spread the ball around like as much as they can. And dude, you are
15 points last week.
You're so
15 points, brother. Yeah. So I look at it and you're right. I seem to like the second best wide receivers on good offenses. Yes. That is, you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, John, you must have been happy with second best on those.
Yeah. And I know that you have a better record than I do, and I am 0-3 and I don't have anything to say. I can't argue that point. It's awful. But I did figure this out with my 137 points last week, even though I lost by just under 4 points because CeeDee Lamb dropped that ball and a wide open, that beautiful pass by your fantasy player of the week, which wasn't really a great fantasy player of the week, but I looked at this. I would have beat 8 out of the 12 teams. And I should have said 8 out of the other 11 teams this week had I been, so it's not like my team isn't producing. I think I'm just getting some shit luck right now. And again, you're right. They are depending on the Bengals, but the Bengals, how they play.
Well, you don't have to wait long, my friend, because Thursday night you will get to see if the turnaround is starting to happen.
I'm really excited to watch tomorrow night. It's going to be a blast. So we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, is our buddy Stu. So he is also 0-3, but he really shit the bed with below 100 points last week. And
Yes.
these trades, man, I don't know
But
what's going on in his mind, on his head. Oh, go ahead before I really go into it.
yeah, you go into it, but in his defense, like, so I play Stu this week, right? So it's literally the battle of the boneheads, and he is projected to do 137. Like, so on paper, he has good players, but they are not showing up. You know,
Yep.
I think that maybe when the sleeper app is projecting these players, they're looking at last year and they're not taking into account.
What's going on now?
Yes, I think
Yeah,
that there's a little bit of bias to
but
last year.
but but to be fair, John, you gotta have something to go off of. It's early. I mean,
I
this is
agree.
a, you know, but I'm actually favored before the first game. This is the first time this year I'm favored 52 to 48%, which another thing is really awesome is that how close the league is right now. It's
Yeah,
really,
it's
really
good.
tight. And I love
Yeah.
that. And I don't, it's not going to last forever. I think it's probably going to last 3 or 4 years before there's going to be some guys and some bottom feeders. But um, yeah, Stu, this whole thing, and I went back and I did this. There, these trades, and I'm going to try to get you out of here. I know you got plans tonight, but his 11th trade was Darren Waller and Jahan Dotson. This
Or
week he received that for
oh, okay.
Alvin Kamara and a 2023 second round pick, which I believe belonged to Dan. Then he had this massive, like, kind of mind blowing
5-player
trade,
trade, right?
which and these are like they're not no namers by any means. Okay, David Mont. This is who he received. Actually, I should start with who he sent away because I think this will build it a little bit better. He sent away Derrick Henry, Tyreek Hill, and DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, first off, you're like, well, this motherfucker better be getting a haul in return, right?
Oh yeah, big haul,
No,
big,
no,
like
no.
Christmas.
Yeah, no. He got David Montgomery,
Ooh.
Terry McLaurin on a shit team in Washington,
Yeah.
Deontay Johnson, we'll have to bring up briefly after this. And then this year's first and second round pick. I like that he picked up some picks, but what the hell is going on here? Dan's, according to the trade value calculators, Stu made almost 6,000 points in value in that trade, which is why value points don't always make sense. So it says that he won the trade, but I think that a lot of that is that first and second round pick.
Yes, those are worth a lot.
And those three players who are fantasy studs, they're a little bit older. Okay. Then after he did all this, remember that I'll go back to his 11th trade. Remember, he received Darren Waller and Jahan Dotson for Alvin Kamara and a second round pick. He then traded back
for Alvin
Dotson and a 2023 first round pick for guess who? The same people, the same thing he traded away, a second round pick and Alvin Kamara. What the fuck is that? So if you take it all away, he essentially traded a first round pick for a 30-year-old tight end in Las Vegas who is going to be splitting targets now with Devontae Adams, arguably the best wide receiver in the game, and a very, very highly paid slot receiver in Hunter Renfrow.
and
I don't
that
get it.
stud. Who is that stud that came out of Las Vegas this past week, dude?
Oh, that
Matt
really
Collins,
like
30 points, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. And then, Dan added, he also traded a first for Robert Woods, but then traded Woods and a second back to get his first. So he essentially just gave away a second round pick for free.
Stu is a trade addict. That's what it is.
It's almost like you and your gambling there, John,
Yeah.
but hey, I will say, as much as I enjoyed shit talking Stu a little bit there, I love that he's doing these trades because it definitely adds some spice to this league, and it we all have a good laugh and we keeps people interested.
So Stu, thank you for your service to this dynasty league.
Yeah,
thank you, Stu.
So I know we didn't get into everything tonight, John, but I think this was awesome. And
I had a blast.
It does. It always does. Every time I do this, I'm just like, I'm like, I'm ready to do this for like 3 or 4 hours. I really think I could, you know,
And
like a pee
I gotta
break
tell
there.
you, don't you think like, so I know, I do it with David. I appreciate you having me on here. It's
Mhm.
really not, we're not trying to get famous or make money. It's just about keeping the flame of friendship alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a nice way to do it.
Yep. And hey, I mean, I've been having a blast with this. I think everybody's had a lot of fun with this so far. And hey, if shit goes viral, sweet. But you know,
Hey,
I'm not counting on it by any means. But this is so much fun, and it's something that we can always look back on and
and if
reminisce.
and if Cooper Rush wins MVP and I get hired on to work at ESPN because I'm such a good effing analyst, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be upset. Oh yeah, Cooper Rush. Yeah, that's my guy. Yeah, but no, thanks for having me on, and thanks. Shout out to Dan, the
Yes. Yeah.
silent
Thank you.
sniper. He's out there with stats. He's got everything.
Yep, he's doing an awesome job. I have to thank him every episode. He's doing a fantastic job with his creativity and throwing that stuff up, all his visuals for us, so we can make this the best show possible. But hey, John, thanks again for coming on. It was really good talking, and we'll talk soon, and maybe we'll see each other on Sunday.
No,
And
yeah,
and
you need to text me when you're in town.
I will.
Okay, and I'll
We'll
just come. I'll even if it's not long, I'll waddle over and say hello.
Yep.
Okay,
We'll figure some out. But hey, good luck tonight in bag toss. And it was good talking.
thanks, sir. Thanks,
Yep.
Dan. Bye.